Here.
Mark Satterley. Rick Flynn.
Here.
Jim Gozy.
Here.
LaDonna Allen. Here.
Would you all please stand and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pray with me. Eternal God, as we begin another session of the Carl Junction Board of Aldermen, we ask that you invest in this board your strength and wisdom to fortify us and guide us so that we may enhance the prosperity of our community and improve the quality of life for those you have entrusted to us to serve. It's in your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Rick. Next is approval of the agenda. Are there any comments or corrections to the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by LaDonna Allen, to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative with 3 absent. The agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda, which is approval of the previous meetings on February the 1st and February 15th and approval of disbursements. Are there any comments or corrections to the consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve. Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by Rick Flynn, to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative with 3 absent. The consent agenda is approved. Next is public forum. Anyone wishing to speak at public forum? I'll read this. You go up to the podium. All persons wishing to speak to the mayor and board of aldermen during the public comment portion of the meeting should come forward one at a time and stand at the podium. Then state your name and address and the subject matter you wish to comment upon. All comments should be directed to the mayor in a civil manner. Comments are limited to 5 minutes unless the mayor or board of aldermen grants additional time. It is the mayor's responsibility to make certain these rules are followed and to maintain order and decorum. If you have a question, the mayor and board of aldermen may, of course, provide an immediate response. However, the mayor and board of aldermen may also provide no response or response at a later time as they deem appropriate.
I'm Carol Wofford, live at 207 Burford, and I've lived here about 10 years, and I just want to say I've loved Republic Service. They have been fantastic. I have never had a problem. If I've needed a new receptacle, I've called, they brought me one. If I need something large picked up, I've called, it's usually gone within 2 days. And I met one of their employees this winter during the last ice storm because I was out trying to figure out how to get out of my driveway. He pulled in and backed in and out of my driveway so I could get to my street. And before I could turn around and look, he had come back and was with the shovel, and he was scraping all the ice off of my driveway so I could get out into the street easier. You know, and people like that are local, that work for Republic, that left a really big impression on me, that we have local people that work there that do kind acts like that. So that's all I have to say, is I really appreciate the service we get from them.
Thank you very much for your comments. Would anyone else like to speak at public forum? This is last call for public forum, your last chance. Very well then, we'll close that public forum and move on to next, the approval of bids for the zero-turn mower. Steve?
Yeah, we went out for bids on a new zero-turn mower. Jay and I went through them, and Anderson Car and Tractor, low bid, $15,349. So that's what we're recommending that we buy.
Any questions for Steve? Any problems? You've all seen the bids.
I move we accept the bid and go with Anderson Tractor.
Second.
Motion by LaDonna Allen, second by Roger Spencer to go with Anderson Tractor on the side mower bid. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative, 3 absent. That bid is approved. Next is approval of bids for the overhead door repair at 813 Joplin Street. Steve?
One of the overhead doors is having some pretty good problems with it, and it's been, the guys have tried to fix it before too. So
This would be the Public Works building.
yeah, the Public Works building, the main building where the shop is up there. So Falk Construction and Garage Door was low bid, $4,080, and we're recommending that.
What was the name again?
Falk Construction, F-A-L-K.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve? Now you guys have seen the bids?
Make a motion, we go with Falk.
Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by Rick Flynn to go with Fall Construction's bid for the overhead door at 813 Joplin Street, which is our public works building. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative, with 3 absent. That is also approved. Next is approval of bids for the solid waste removal. You want to talk about it, Steve, or anybody else here want to talk about it? I know if you give us a breakdown of it.
Yeah, you've got my memo there on breakdown of the second rounds. And I believe we've got representatives from all 3 companies here. So if you have questions for them or comments, open it up.
Anybody want to ask any of the representatives a question or do an analysis?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, we're really, really close on bids, which I am not surprised considering we had a rebidding. But one of the things I noticed, there's like a 5-cent difference, 60 cents a year, isn't that big deal. There was a note on there that Republic does have a recycling receptacle now. Wondered if they could tell us a little bit about that and if that's something that like would be charged extra or it could just be placed for use or what that entails.
Yes, it would be extra.
Yeah, but how much was it show? Oh, it's like, but it's only like, what is it, 38 cents a?
$11.59.
Yeah, so we're talking 35 cents extra a month.
Mm-hmm.
What all does that, what all would the recycling include?
Basically what it is it's like a roll-off container that you see like at construction sites, but it'll be enclosed. We refurbish it and put a deal over the top so it doesn't get wet. It'll have lids that people can place the things in. We would put it at a city property, city to determine where. And they could recycle the 1 and 2 plastics, cardboard, paper, aluminum and tin. Glass would not be accepted, but all of the things
All the
that we kind of discussed last time.
Okay.
And then as well as the cardboard only containers for the city facilities, those would be included in city facilities now at no charge.
At no charge on that?
And the mayor was correct, the price there would be the residential price for trash service and that drop off center.
So and it's a 35 cent difference, I think, in it,
Yeah, per resident.
per resident, okay.
Sure.
Okay, that was my question, kind of what all would be accepted at that, so.
Anybody else want to comment? Well, I'll give you my recommendation. I sent an email to both the budget chairman and Steve on it. Of the 3 bids we have, unfortunately, Shorts is extremely high and not very competitive with the other 2 bids. The other 2 we have in the first year are very competitive with Republic and GFL WCA. When I did an analysis and I made assumptions, Republic has a 3.5% increase a year for the next 5 years. GFL WCA wants to go by the consumer price index, which we did for the last 10 years. Unfortunately, we're in a massive inflation increase right now. Right now, it's running at 7% this year. For the last 2 years, the CPI has been 4.5%. So I did an analysis. I figured 7% for this year, and I figured to be on the low side, 2% for the next 4 years on GFL WCA's pricing. And the best value, in my opinion, for the city is to go with the Republic bid because it's going to be cheaper for all the residents unless you figure in the recycling bin, and that changes everything because I would not recommend having a recycling bin. I recycle my cardboard and my aluminum. I use the current cardboard recycling facilities we have in town. when you look at the commercial, it's kind of a wash. Except Republic said they offered a 5% franchise fee, which I would say the city does not want a 5% franchise fee. But if they'd be willing to take off 5% for the actual commercial customers instead of paying the city, I think that would be even more beneficial to our residents. And that's just my opinion.
Well, and some other things that we had pointed out when we were talking back and forth. There's not a really big substantial change in anything. And we have had really, really good feedback. I wish the public would get this involved on everything because it was great. I mean, we actually heard what the people wanted. And like I've told them, when we're making these decisions, I'm not deciding where I'm going to spend my money. I'm deciding where I'm going to spend your money. So that's why we always need that feedback. And we have gotten really, really good participation from our residents, I think, on this. And to switch over, that's another thing we talked about, just the process of switching over when really there's no reason we're seeing to switch over would probably take a good 6 months to get all the cards in and out. I pointed this out to Steve when I suggested, I think I talked to some representatives. I was pushing for a rebidding, and it was not because of a service issue. I want to make that very clear before we make any decisions. It was because I think if we are going to be stewards of your tax money, that it's responsible for us every so many years to look at every professional service we have, rebid it. It keeps everybody honest. It makes sure we're not falling asleep at the wheel, and it makes sure that our customers are getting the best deal for the money. So just on a personal note, that is why I personally pushed, hey, let's rebid these services, because it was time every few years. It had nothing to do with service. So just so you know, that didn't come into account. I personally, and from a budget standpoint and everything else, agree with the mayor on the recommendation. From everything we've looked at, from all the feedback, I would personally go with Republic myself.
Anyone else like to comment? Jim, Bob, Rick?
Just one thing, I received an email, and I think maybe more than just I got it, but it's a customer service praise for Republic as well. About a young man, it was his birthday. He's loved seeing the trash truck come by, and they stopped and let him get in the truck and honk the horn. They gave him a toy trash truck and a vest and a hat. And I think little things like that are just above and beyond when it comes to customer service. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Roger?
No. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Talley.
I've been passive in this, and I don't know all the details, but this question for Steve. We're talking about a new contract as opposed to an extension of an existing. What is the differential between a new contract and just extending a contract?
Actually, the mayor and I looked at that also, and the existing contract, if we'd extend it, would have an adder to it, and the rate would be higher.
1167 versus their
Current
1114.
Okay. So we're contemplating, but we're just contemplating a 5-year contract rather than a 10-year contract or an ability to extend? Or has there been discussion about what the terms of the new contract will be?
Would be a 5-year contract with a 5-year extension.
That was my question. Okay, and they understand that we'll have to write a new contract on this, and they will present it to the city.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Great. That's all I have.
Thank
I
you.
just-
Thank you. Appreciate the clarification. What?
You got anything?
No, he said he didn't. No. So I guess we need to take a vote if we want to
I
do
would
anything.
move that we accept the bid from Republic, continue with the service that we have under a new contract.
A second. Motion LaDonna Allen, second by Jim Gozi to accept the new trash contract bid with Republic. All those in favor,
Just-
please.
just-
Yes, sir.
Discussion, understanding that we will have to come back with an ordinance
Yes.
approving this new contract when it's put together.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And that's before March 31st, is that when the contract
Yep.
expires?
Yes.
Just may have it next week.
With the understanding we have to have an ordinance.
We're meeting every week, so we should.
Yeah. Not intentionally, that's because all these people left
Sorry.
last week. Okay, we have a motion to have a contract presented. We'll have an ordinance for by Republic to accept it by LaDonna Allen, second by Jim Gosey. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative with 3 absent. I guess you guys can go ahead with that then.
Yes, sir.
Next is the approval of bids for hot food serving counter table for the senior center.
Yes, like I told you before, the hot food serving counter over here, the current one is broken and cannot be fixed. So went out for bid on it. 5-star food equipment, low bid, $6,771.60, and that's what we're recommending that we buy.
And how is this funded?
This will come out of equipment accrual that we have for the community center.
Thank you. Does budget agree with that?
Yes, as long as a free meal goes with that warming table.
Sorry, but it's cheap. Any other comments?
I move we accept the bid out of 5 stars or 4-star?
5-star.
5-star, I did a typo. 5-star foods
I knew she couldn't read.
for the, well, I can't type either, that's the problem. 5-star foods for the warming table.
I'll second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Roger Spencer to approve the bid by 5-star for the food serving counter table for the senior center. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative with 3 absent. That is also approved. Next is the approval of bids for the Center Creek Crossing sewer repair.
In your packet is the Algier Martin's breakdown of the 3 bids that we received. $246,450 is Asbel Excavating and Trucking, and that's the one we're recommending going with. And they can start immediately. The other 2, although higher, wouldn't have been able to start in it somewhere between 6 and 8 months. But Asbel can start right away.
And that is lower than our
That
engineering
is
estimate.
lower than the engineer estimate, yes.
What's the estimated completion time? Did they say how long that would take?
Yes, Kirk told me, but I can't tell you off the top of my head. It's pretty quick.
Probably less than the 6 months we wait on the others to start.
Yes.
So we could get it done hopefully before the spring floods.
Hopefully there's no spring floods this year.
Yeah. That note, I move we accept the Asbel bid for $246,450 to make the repairs to the line across Center.
Do you hope we have an ordinance for that?
And that's 42 cents.
Oh, we didn't do a first reading. We just got on.
No. This is just approval of the bid.
I was like, God,
You're right.
Ordinance is next.
you scared me.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Rick Flynn to approve the bid by Jeff Asbel Excavating and Trucking for the Center Creek Crossing sewer repair. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative. That bid is approved. Next, on ordinances. We have an ordinance approving an agreement with Jeff Asbel Excavating and Trucking for Center Creek Crossing sewer repair.
Move we put this ordinance on first reading by title only.
Okay.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Rick Flynn to put this ordinance on first reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance approving an agreement between the city of Carl Junction, Missouri and Jeff Asbel Excavating and Trucking Incorporated to commence and complete the 2022 Center Creek Crossing sewer repair as directed by the city in accordance with the contract documents for a cost not to exceed $246,450.42 and authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute said agreement for and on behalf of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri.
Discussion.
Move we put this ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Jim Gosey to put this ordinance on second reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance approving an agreement between the city of Carl Junction, Missouri and Jeff Asbel Excavating and Trucking Incorporated to commence and complete the 2022 Center Creek Crossing sewer repair as directed by the city in accordance with the contract documents for a cost not to exceed $246,450.42 and authorizing the mayor and or city administrator to execute said agreement for and on behalf of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri.
Any further discussion?
Make a motion, we put this on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by Long Island, to put this on final passage. This is a hand vote to go to electronic voting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative with 3 absent. Please vote electronically. We have 5 yeses with 3 absent. The ordinance passes. And that's ordinance number 2202. Thank you very much. Only if it's passed. Next, reports. City administrators reports. I noticed the format has changed a little bit here.
I cleaned it up and got rid of a bunch of old stuff on there.
I
hope
do
you
like-
guys
thank
remember
you.
what was on there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Any comments for the city administrators report?
I forgot to bring the binder out with me. I was gonna bring that stormwater binder out with me so you guys can see it. But it is available for public viewing anytime somebody wants to come in and see it. So.
Okay.
And we will have some I&I stormwater training coming up from Alger Martin. They've done similar work for other cities in the area. Because of some of the changes that DNR's done, they're gonna have a training, so we'll take part of that.
Excellent. Hope we got enough space to get that on the website. Anything else for the city administrator? Very well then, we'll move on to a new item on the agenda, the treasurer's report. Since we have a new treasurer, she's also made a report of all the stuff she's doing. Any comments? A lot of good information here.
That gives you, did she say this last meeting? That gives you a pretty good idea of funds
This
that we
is
have.
the account balances for all of our accounts as of the last bank reconciliation. So this is how much
Cool.
money we have in the accounts.
Good.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Mr. McAfee had asked about that
Yes.
a month or so ago.
I like that. I really do. That's very good. Anything about the treasurer's report? Can't ask her. She's not here. You can email her if you want to.
I've got her phone number.
Okay. I used to. That was City Hall.
No, I got her cell phone.
Next, our department reports. Jay couldn't be with us tonight, and we don't have a report on the Public Works, and the building inspector's report will be next week. We have our next meeting. But we do have a police report. Very extensive, Mark. Very good. I like that. Thank you very much. Any comments for the chief? Or comments about the report?
I guess I do.
Yeah.
Item number 1 is as far as cyanide, I guess I'm saying that. Is that what that was?
Cyanide.
It's liquid cyanide. Luckily, they wrapped it in bubble wrap, so when they dropped it in the container, it didn't shatter. Otherwise, it would have been deadly, according to emergency director over at Webb City Fire Department.
Did we have video of that?
She don't check that box for, it'd be 3-4 months. And the video in that lobby is not that great anyway, and then the sun coming through the windows. We've had issues before, so we may need to look at doing a different camera system in there at some point also.
It seems like it was with good intention, like
Yeah,
somebody
if it was
realized
wrapped
it
in
was
something,
dangerous
yeah.
and they wanted to dispose of it in a proper manner.
Yeah, they actually
It just
wrapped
wasn't
up and had a note on it saying, caution, dangerous chemical.
Yeah.
So,
Good intentions, bad follow through.
Right,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
poison control, 911, any of those options would have probably been better than, carrying it in.
Anything further on this number 2 down here that you have?
the arson,
No, the,
I think it's fun. We use number system for some of the
Yeah.
hotspots in town, so.
It's on your stolen vehicles.
I know there's a couple officers that are watching it. We've got some cars going in and out that we're keeping log. Newton County and Vernon County, I believe it was, are doing their own investigation and submitting charges. One of them does have video of the suspects that live there actually taking the property, so there will be charges coming down. They just haven't been formally done yet.
So if your Amazon package is late, just come over to my neighborhood. It's probably sitting on a stolen Amazon truck.
That's where it went, huh?
It's
Crazy.
just, it's 3 houses from Steve Daniels.
Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, moving right along. Let's see, where are we here? Department reports, budget and finance.
Well, we hope we have wrapped up the budget process today. We've still got some numbers to plug in, but did a lot of work, and it was really fun this year because we got to budget ARPA funds. So, yay. I was telling them we followed just kind of when we were in Jeff City last week. One of the things that one of the state reps that handles a lot of the federal funding, like the advisory committee, and does the recommendations on how they put the funds down, told everybody when you are dealing with these federal funds, think, how will this make my city better 40 years down the road? And I think that everything we've budgeted in the ARPA, we can look and honestly say 40 years from now, Carl Junction will be better because of how we are spending these additional funds. So hopefully. Plans are, we hope to include the proposed budget in the packet for the first meeting in March, which is actually going to be a week from now. And that will give everybody time to come back with questions if they need to at the mid-March, and then we will approve the budget the first meeting in April. So other than that, that's it for
We
budget.
can do that first meeting in April. That's when it takes effect.
Takes
No.
effect May 1st.
May 1st.
Oh, May 1st. That's
Yeah,
right.
as long
Right,
as
May
we
1st. Okay,
adopt it
okay.
the 1st
Yeah,
of April,
yeah,
so we'd
yeah,
be okay.
okay.
So-
I'm sorry.
And you guys may be so impressed with the budget, you want to move to approve it mid-March because we did a spectacular job of budgeting this year.
Well, we might all have to look at it real close now.
Line item by line. That is all.
Just for the record,
Thank you. Any questions for the budget committee?
just for the record, I think you should look at it close every year.
Thank you.
Shh.
Code nuisance, Rick.
Nothing at this time.
Human resources, Roger.
Nothing.
We don't have anything going on today.
Yeah, we got a closed meeting.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Public facilities, Bob.
We're going to have a meeting.
Early, if we could have a public facilities meeting early next Tuesday before the regular council. I'd like to go over the projects we have on the ARPA stuff, give you guys an idea of what we're looking at. and everything.
6 o'clock,
6:30 probably.
6:30? Okay. 6:30 on March 1st.
Yep.
Great. He has got a 7 o'clock basketball game.
I have to be there.
I know, but I feel obligated. We got a meeting that
Are
night
you the
anyway.
sixth man?
Yes.
Is that what you are?
Yeah, just about. Anything else for Bob? Very good. Senior citizens, Richard.
Well, I guess. Good evening. I guess wow.
New batteries.
I guess so. I guess I should say thank you for the table purchase that's going to be happening. That's good. Thank you for taking care of us along the way there. That's good. As I said last time, March is National Nutrition Month. Now, another way of interpreting that is we're going to try and raise money every which way we can. And we do the Carl Junction Lions Club breakfast is on the first Saturday of the month. They are going to give their proceeds from that event to us, to the senior center, for National Nutrition Month. And then we are also going to have a bake sale in the hallway. We understand there's some sort of basketball event or something in the gym at the same time, so we're looking forward to lots of traffic that you can come by and buy breakfast and buy donuts to go home, all that stuff. We also are going to do tip day down at the CK Drive-In on March the 10th. And that's one thing, plus some raffles and other stuff. But just normal, and if you just want to make a donation, you can do that too.
What time's breakfast? 8?
It's 8 to 11.
8 to 11.
It's really, that really is, in my, just my personal opinion, that is one of the crowning things of Carl Junction is the camaraderie that develops around that breakfast. It really is a great thing. But anyway, National Nutrition Month means open your pocket.
A week from Saturday, March 5th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything for Richard?
Well,
Yeah,
just
Rick?
one thing with that, not really, just more comment on that breakfast. I do know that the local churches, a lot of the men are getting together and have a breakfast on those days at 8 a.m. I don't know if there's any men at the local churches that want to be a part of that. That'd be great too.
I've seen back in the corner there. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Richard. Next is unfinished business. Jim?
No.
The Don?
Come on.
I have no unfinished business. Roger?
No.
Rick?
No, sir.
Bob?
No, sir.
Mr. Talbot? Belina?
No, sir.
Crystal?
No, sir.
Steve?
One thing on there, you got an updated list on the ARPA funds there. What we did, we took off all of the low priority items. And talking to Jay, we've got some water line replacement that we need to be doing. We've actually got several areas in town that have 2-inch water lines feeding several houses. That's a fire issue, fire supply issue when it comes to that. So we'll be changing some of that stuff around. We're going to see if we can get some of those water line projects in the ARP.
Good. Mark? New business, Bob?
Nothing.
Rick?
No, sir.
Roger? I have nothing.
Just a couple quick notes. We went, 3 of us were at Jefferson City last week, and just to fill people in real quick that weren't able to attend, we did speak with our senator and both representatives that handle Carl Junction. Also, they have finished redistricting the House. The Senate was still up in air because they were filibustering it. But starting next year, Bob Bromley will handle all of Carl Junction and Webb City. Cody's area is changing, so we will have one representative that handles both sides. We did get to speak with, like I said, the senator, both reps, stressed that we were not in favor of anything that would cut city revenues beyond where they are. Not that the state would cap our sales tax, because I believe our residents with their votes cap the sales tax to what they want. Told them we were against Senate Bill 911, which would make us cut our levy by the amount of ARPA funds we have. That won't even come out of committee, I doubt. But we were able to talk to them, tell them, we don't want them to repeal food tax. Just basically anything. It seems like half of the stuff they have right now before them doesn't deal with the state. It just deals with impacting city budgets. So we did talk to them about that, made that very clear, kind of butted heads with somebody a little bit. But Jim, I don't know if you want to mention, we did do some networking with other cities, which was neat because we got some good ideas and some feedback just sitting around and talking. Jim, did you want to mention what, was it Kirkwood that was talking about?
Yeah, it was Kirkwood.
Oh, pass
and,
it for new.
He mentioned how it all came about was, I mentioned to him that we have with Airport Drive or Airport Village or whatever you would call it, with annexing, they're using our services. Well, what he said, he had a similar situation, and their council went and approved an ordinance where if somebody a new business were to go into, say, airport and a village and want to have to use our services, water and such, that they were required to then be annexed into our city. I don't know how that would work, and I don't know if you can do that. But I mean, that is, well, I'm just telling you, that's what they said. He said that they had done.
I was just wondering because of like the 171, some of the stuff that right now is in the county, maybe up by the triangle that hasn't annexed into the village. But if that's something we could do, Jim was telling me about that, and I was like,
Concept, isn't it?
To be somewhat responsive, I'm familiar with the concept of requiring somebody who wants to use our facilities,
Right.
requiring them to annex into the city,
Right.
our city. Okay?
Yes.
But you're talking about somebody that's already in another municipality that then wants to use our facilities, making them come out of that municipality and into ours. I've never heard of such a
So
scheme.
all he, well, and I'm sure maybe you understood me, maybe you didn't, and I'll just repeat it, because what he's saying is, if, say for instance, Jim goes in, wanted to go in and build a convenience store next door to Harps, which I would have to use Carl Junction's services.
And that is in Airport Drive,
That
city
is in
limits.
Airport Drive. And what he said is, what their council passed was an ordinance that said, if a new business went in that required the use of our infrastructure, that they would be required to be annexed into our city.
Which would mean first they would have to be de-annexed out of the other city, right?
I'm assuming.
I would think so.
Yes, I would think so too. And we could pass such an ordinance.
Enforcement would be.
That would be-
and I think it would be tough, like you said, where they're incorporated like in the village limits or whatever.
Mhm.
I think that would be very tough.
Right.
But like you say, when we're talking about some of this frontage that may come up for sale eventually and say they want to go ahead and use the money to run the utility, like run a sewer line, the only way they tie on is because right now, if they aren't in another municipality, they could be required to come from county.
What is the motorcycle place and the granite place?
It's county.
I know. Do they on our utilities? Sewer and water?
They should be sewer. aren't they?
Septic,
Oh, they're septic.
'cause they're county.
Yes, sir.
One other thing, the law of annexation has another requirement, and that is that to do a voluntary annexation, the area to be annexed must be contiguous to the area that's annexing.
Okay.
So if you've got somebody over there in Airport Drive,
Yeah.
they're not likely to be contiguous to City of Carl Junction. There's a possibility if they're on the border of, it's a possibility they
Yeah,
could be,
yeah.
but that is an additional requirement for annexation.
Like the new Dollar General
That
would be.
Probably they would not, your scenario, they probably would not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the
But they're
new Dollar General they
currently
built
could
is
be.
in Airport Drive, but it's on Fur Road and across the street is Carl Junction.
Yeah,
That would be a
that's-
continuous spot, but
Yeah.
yet they are already in Airport Drive.
But the land there where discount is and all along there, eventually if those houses come out, those could be.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of interesting
Because
because I
it's
thought
county.
it is maybe a way that we could get some of these places even along JJ, or where we've had in the past, that they've talked about, can we run utilities or what that we pass that it requires.
And I didn't do a very good job of explaining it, but I really haven't really looked into it as well as I want to yet. So I'm going to continue to look into it anyway. And there may be something out there that, that they did that is something. Not to say that you and I don't know what you're talking about. Don't take me wrong when I say that. But
It's okay.
But it just Mike, please. It just seemed interesting to me that he said that they were able to do that. And what happened with him was it was a Walmart that had come in. And they were able to get in that, and they were able to get a Walmart instead of this.
Well, the city has the option of requiring that to anybody who wants to use our facility. We have the right to do that. And if it was something as major as a Walmart, that is a position that would be arguably smart in the city's interest
Right.
to take.
Should have done it with Harris and his big house.
Anyhow,
Well, thank you.
I didn't mean to be dismissive.
Oh,
It
no,
just-
no, nor I.
When he had talked to me about that, because he was an interesting guy
Mhm.
to listen to, and he was talking. And another thing that came up was commercial zones. And I know probably years and years ago when he was working on the MoDOT thing had kind of brought this up, but he named off a couple cities in Missouri that have done, like, their planning and zoning now as part of their long-term, like we have Pennell, where it would make sense to have a lot of our Pennell frontage commercial. Said that since they have a lot that is zoned residential, that their planning and zoning came in and set those areas up like a corridor, that the frontage should be commercial. They don't force everybody to change, but what they said was they've got it set up so that if a property changes hands, that's residential now. So say if Chris Ware and Curtis wanted to sell their house, they could sell their house and the buyer would have the option to leave it residential, or it could automatically go commercial. They would not have to do a public hearing
Right.
and rezone. That there is an ordinance on the book that sets these certain commercial zones so that they can automatically switch from them to that without rezoning. I don't even know if that's possible, but there are areas in town that would make sense. Like along
We're a
Pennell,
little
along
bit similar in the fact that our comprehensive plan lays out the fact that we want Pennell commercial.
Yeah.
So we've
And-
kind
and-
of taken a step towards that.
And I don't know if that's something that P&Z can look at, and maybe they could, recommend a corridor and something we could pass. Like I say, nobody is forced to go commercial, but they said it helps to have that in place because then the homeowner or if you would inherit a property or whatever, you have a lot better options to even get more money out of the property, because as they're selling it, they're like, you can automatically convert this to commercial. So, I don't know, but just a couple of things that we picked up that I thought might be something to look into,
Something to think about.
because it would develop, and like for road along further, if we develop out sometime on farther out on for both sides. So anyhow, those are just some of the things we picked up, and we networked with some good people. We made some good connections, and we kind of made our voices known. And I don't know about you guys, but I think everybody up there, all of us, said we did not want to go partisan on municipality elections. So if any of you have a problem with that, you can scream at us later. But we were asked about
Why
that.
don't you comment about property tax?
On,
The auditor, state auditor.
okay, so.
Mr. Talley needs to hear this.
Part of the conversation that I had, both while we were up there and before we went up there, I was talking with Mike Kelly, Billy Long's office, but of course Mike was a rep for 8 years also. But I was talking about complaining because I said, I kind of gave him what for, because I'm like, all you guys do is keep cutting into our wallet. And so I told him, I said, not only that, we have this growth, we get $12 million additional appraised or assessed, and we turn everything in and you guys cut our levy. I said, our voters have approved a levy. How is this against Hancock? Because it is not taxation without representation. They've told us we can collect this much. We have all of this additional infrastructure. I said, we add on these properties. Now we have more streets, we have more policing, we have more sewer lines, we have more water lines. All of our expenses go up and you guys keep our revenues flat. Mike Kelly said, check with your city attorney. I know others that have done this. He said, I am not an attorney and I am not allowed to give you legal advice. But check with your attorney, because the auditor's office does not have the authority. If your voters have passed a levy, they can recommend what you set your levy at. But if the voters have given us permission, they do not legally have the authority to come in and tell us you cannot assess your set levy. And he said
Get
there
back
are.
from California, you look into that.
He said there are municipalities that have dealt with this, that have talked with their attorneys,
Did he
and they're-
mention any names? because,
No, but I can call him
yeah,
tomorrow.
I think I would want to see a reference in a
I will get with him tomorrow. I do
particularization
know,
of those, of somebody who's actually taken that
Yeah.
stance.
and I will check with him, because I know he does, and he was like, you can say, thank you for your recommendation, but this is what we're assessing. Now, I do know there is a fire district in this area that has said no. And they put in what the levy is, and they've been collecting it. Jasper County has collected it for them, and there has not been any problem. And I believe it was Warren Nova Fire.
Well, they just,
Maybe that's-
CJ just got,
CJ, they tried to cut CJ's.
they tried to cut CJ. They passed a levy last year
They got to collect it 1 year.
to go 50 cents, and the auditor says, no, you get to go to 47 now.
Yeah, they got it 1 year and they dropped it. And so they've talked with an attorney and they've talked with other fire districts. And CJ Fire is planning on saying, no, thank you, putting in their levy and collecting it.
Because because we passed the levy after the Hancock Amendment. Back in what, the 80s? Late 80s, what, 95 cents or something like that, or maybe
Yeah.
more than that. And now we're down to 40,
Well, and that's what he's.
over $1.
Yeah.
Well, I have never looked at this question.
Yeah,
And that's
so
why
I would really like the.
I will get with him tomorrow and get some names, because he's really good on working with. In fact, he's said if there's anything we can do. But his thing is like, of course we can't come in and try to levy something above what taxpayers have given us permission to do.
right.
But if we're within that, he said the auditors do not have the legal authority to tell us if the voters have okayed it, they can't say it's not okay.
And I just want to see what sources are cited by whom.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get
'Cause I
names
can't-
of
I
cities.
can't-
and get them.
Cite him as my.
That's why you said talk to
Yeah.
the city attorney.
Yeah,
No,
I don't
I need
know.
to know what
All
he's
I know
talking
is
about.
Mike Kelly said
Well,
Mike
look-
Talley knows everything. So
Why not do this, LaDonna, when you get a hold of him, give him Mike's number, let him call him.
No, let's go. through
because he
this.
bills by the hour and I don't.
I don't.
But yes, I will get. I'm sure he will give us some names of. Because he also said if we decide at any point that we're going to be brave enough to put anything else on the ballot, that he would be happy to try to help us with some tips that he's got from other towns.
Okay.
But
That it
I'll
now?
get with him. Yes, that's all I have. Just a little.
Let's see, what are we on, new business?
Yes. Start.
Jim?
No, sir.
Mr. Talley?
None.
Elena?
Yes, sir.
Good. Oh, yeah. Forgot about this. You listen to this too, Mr. Talley.
I spoke with a resident today who, back in May of 21, had a very large water bill due to a leak. He had requested from the council 8 months to pay off the balance of that leak, which at the time was $672.81. Typically in the office, we give them 3 months to pay a leak, so he requested permission for 8. When we do that, we do not disconnect him and we do not charge a disconnect fee. However, the interest and penalties do accrue every month on the balance that is due. And he was aware that he needed to be paying extra every month to have his water bill paid in full by the end of February. He has paid some extra, he has not paid much extra. So the balance now on his account is just over $1,000. And he has requested that you drop all of those late fees and interest and penalties. He said he was not aware that those would continue to accrue. According to him, someone told him that he could just disregard the bill that was coming. Don't know who in the office would have said that. Those are his words. But he has requested that you remove all of those late fees and penalties from his account. If you do that, he is still going to owe a balance of $462.07. But I told him I would bring it to you all because our standard operating procedure is penalties and interest continue to accrue each month if you have a balance due.
And this is the guy that didn't show up the first time. He didn't show up to council. He had called Mary Beth, want her to present it. he didn't show up. They told him to come in today and talk to us. Didn't show up again today. My whole problem is he should have known, even though he didn't come in, that he has to pay his water bill. Plus he has to pay $85 extra every month for 8 months to cover that debt. He didn't pay anywhere near that. And what we told him he could ignore was the disconnect notice, because we said we wouldn't disconnect it for 8 months. So now he's sitting there, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be as hard-nosed as Mary Beth and say, he didn't pay, we shut off his water.
And he got a bill every month.
Yeah, he got a bill every month showing what he had.
Charges, so he knew.
But he said, no, he told me I could throw it away.
I had thought about something after we talked about this today also. If you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, that he really, really did believe, I don't have interest in penalties. I mean, if he's trying to convince us that's what he thought, then he would have showed up out of the blue with a check for $460 some and said, thank you for giving me time, I'm paid in full. But he didn't do that. I mean, so I think it's kind of hard for him to say now, I didn't know I owed that, because if that was true, he would have came in to pay it off minus those interest and penalties.
And this month is his 8th month.
Yeah.
This is the month that we would be disconnecting him for not paying.
He was getting a bill every month that showed current and the past due amount on it. He chose to wait until the end of the 8 months. He knew that his bill was getting higher and higher and higher.
Yeah. It wasn't like it was holding steady with him paying his current. It kept going up. He should, first or second month, he should have been on the phone going, what's going
Other
on?
than, I guess, the fees and penalties, is there anything going on? I mean, this is the pastor and me come out a little bit. Is it what's going on in this guy's life that he can't afford this bill? We gotta be a little graceful.
Well, what he said, I think today to him was, well, if I'd known you're going to do this to me, I just would have paid you the $600 right at the start.
If he could have done that, he wouldn't have asked for 8 months.
Yeah, that's true.
It kind of is one of those root cause deals. I'm sure there's somebody that can help him figure out his root cause in the budget, but I don't think that can be our responsibility.
My problem is setting a precedent too.
I agree with the mayor.
Typically, the city should not be forgiving debts. Okay, that's where you start. On the one hand. On the other, an argument could be made that he didn't understand that these interest and penalties were accumulating once an agreement had been made that he could have 8 months to pay it off. You could make that argument, and you could also make an argument that to avoid litigation, it could be compromised for X dollars, whatever that is, by whatever time. You can make those arguments. And so I wouldn't want to close the door on that.
Well, yeah, I
on
understand
that
that. My problem
those
is,
possibilities.
how can you not understand that you got to pay your water bill every month, plus you have to pay the $85 for 8 months to cover what's going on? Now, the penalty charge on that, he may not have understood that. But he did not pay the $85 and did not.
You know, this is the facilitator in me
Yes.
thinking that if he were to offer to pay the balance less the penalties and that were added on, and he were to offer to do that forthwith as a compromise settlement of his debt, the city could approve something like that. I'm just saying the city could if they chose to. But generally speaking, the city is not in a position to forgive citizens' debts.
I think he really thought he was gonna pay the current, and somehow by the end of the 8 months, he would come up with the extra money to come in and pay it. Is why, like I say, he should have, the wise thing to do would have been to budget every month and pay the extra. But I have a feeling he was like, I don't have that extra. I'm gonna come in, somehow I'll get the money.
But he wasn't even paying his water bill each month. though.
Yeah, there were months he didn't cover it.
Minimal. Yeah,
The
he did.
last 2 months, he didn't even pay enough to cover his bill.
So I think we have budgeting issues and, or income issues, and I can see,
Well,
I admit, and I said in the meeting, I can understand being confused on the late fee and the interest, even though I do believe the person that talked to him is probably pretty clear about it, because she always is on everything.
that's exactly right.
I can see in my mind, I would think maybe, okay, that freezes it. So now that I've made arrangements, it freezes it. From now on, I'm not gonna get that. But I guarantee it was explained to him, whether he chose to listen or maybe he didn't understand.
Here is one additional thought, and this comes from 50 years of prosecuting people who are going down the sliding slope of getting deeper and deeper into trouble. And that is, if you have an opportunity to resolve it and get done with it, you may get something out of this. He may get himself straight. If you don't resolve it now, we're eventually going to write it all off because it'll be lost, period. So that's
Yeah. I
that
understand.
motivates
I
me to
understand.
say, give a chance.
You want to make a business decision. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Part rather than nothing.
So you involved me in this discussion.
On purpose,
And
on purpose, yeah.
And, you know,
And
the bottom line is always, the city's not in the business of forgiving debts, okay? But we also can compromise and settle things that look hopeless otherwise. So that's,
So if he would come in and pay before March 1st, all the $462 or whatever.
we'd have to vote on that and approve that.
that's correct. You
But
would have to do that.
If he did do that, then we wouldn't shut him off, but if he doesn't, or, I mean, we can go more, I'm just saying, that would be a compromise kind of thing.
Whatever we decide, if it's not the full amount, don't anybody tell Mary Beth.
Oh, gosh.
Wait, let me see if I got her number.
But it's, you know, it's something that if somebody wants to talk to him before next meeting, I mean, we got a month.
We had a week.
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
week.
we got a week, pardon me. Yeah.
Actually, shut-offs are going out on the 28th,
So we
before the
would,
next meeting.
so we would have to decide tonight if we want to extend that option to him. And he would have to come in before the shut-off date with a check, even if he borrows the money or goes to Tower Loan or whatever he has to do. Because it'll be shut off
Sure
before
hope
the
he's
next
lucky
meeting.
at the casino.
Well, you've got places like Cross Lines, and he's got other
He has options. There are several churches that have outreach
There's
programs.
Catholic charities, there's all kinds of.
Oh, yeah.
places you can go.
Yeah,
But I'm like you. I don't think we should forgive debts, but then again, a bird in the hand. I mean, if he's already having issues, if we cut him off and say, no, you gotta pay all these penalties, probably won't ever get it. He'll just, because if he's got problems with that and it's compiling, then if he has rent issues or anything else, it'll just be.
And he did ask if he could come in and pay the $672.81, which is what the original bill was. If he could come in and just pay that off, would we consider the account even?
But he still owes for something on the old bill, plus his, whatever he's laying on water bills.
Correct.
Is that more than $600?
He
Yeah, it's
requests
$1,000 right now.
Well,
an
with his,
original
yeah,
check,
with his,
Not a recent request. Six
with his
seventy.
interest.
That was the bill in May of 2021.
So the request to pay it all off was that
Today.
Yeah.
No, the request to pay it all off was today.
672 as opposed to the,
1,000.
$1,000.
So what we would actually end up with is about 800 and some dollars, because he paid $200 towards that 600.
So we would eat 200 something.
Yeah.
I would be interested in that option.
Me too.
If he can do it. Or
Yeah.
maybe.
If you don't do it, then
If you don't do it, shut him up.
okay. I mean, you just have to.
Do you need a motion or just a?
No, we have to have a motion.
I mean,
We have to
the-
vote on it.
I want to reiterate one thing. You are setting a precedent.
That's exactly right.
I'm unsure what precedent we're setting, Steve. What,
Somebody else comes in the exact same circumstances, they can ask and expect the same outcome as what you are giving this guy. Somebody gets behind on their water bill by that much.
was this a leak?
Yes.
This was originally a leak.
He already got it adjusted because with the leak and
With the
fixing the
sewer.
leak, we take the sewer off. You know, it was an adjusted amount to begin with.
well, I'm not suggesting setting a precedent. That's not what I'm
I
suggesting.
know.
I'm looking at this as a compromise.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about too. The problem I get into is he didn't even pay his water bill for the last 2 months, let alone the $85 he owed. He didn't even pay the full amount of his water bill.
He should have been paying his currently due water bill plus $85 every month. And that's
Yes.
what he was not doing.
Is this a rental?
I don't believe so, but I would have to double check.
Even though he told Hawaii today that he would come up with a 686, whatever, I was gonna say 685, make it easier for myself. Most likely, he's not gonna come up with that anyway. So I mean, that
Unless
gives
it's
us the option of, right, you bring this in tomorrow and you're clean. And then you just start paying your normal monthly bill. But if not, then we will cut you off. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no option for you.
End of
This is your only option.
28th. Actually, 27th. End of business on the 27th.
That's Sunday.
It gets processed first thing in the morning before shut-offs go out.
Okay. My problem is still him not paying the amount of water that he used those 2 months, and not even paying that amount.
He's never gonna pay it.
Well, the bill that he's gonna pay includes that does it not?
No, he's just gonna pay the $681 from
From a
back
year
in May, which
He's
had
still
his
gonna be
leak.
2 months behind?
He's a portion of.
Well,
that's fine.
he's
like
paid a
five.
little bit over what his water bill was.
Right.
On certain months, but the last 2 months, he hadn't even paid what his water charges were.
He's like $5 or $10 shy of even paying his current. So right now, he would already have late fees and a shut-off notice just from
Yeah,
December and January,
And
but we didn't shut him
I
off.
could, I'm sure, adjust off the penalties and interest to a point where if you paid the 672, it would bring him to a zero balance. It would just be adjusting off the right amount of penalties, basically,
Then bring it.
to bring the account balance to zero.
Well, it's your guys' decision. It's not mine. Whatever you decide, I won't veto it.
If we do that and then we adjust it and he owes whatever number you come up with, 6 whatever, and then he doesn't pay it by Monday or whatever the date is then he still owes the full amount and his water shut off. That seems fair.
If you want to do that, you can make a motion.
I would make that motion. I need the right numbers though.
So you're saying if he pays $672.81 by Monday, we
By
will
Monday
accept,
morning.
by
Monday
Monday
morning.
morning,
Well, yeah, by midnight Sunday night.
we will accept the lower amount. If he does not, he will have to pay it in full for the $1,040.30.
Plus any penalty.
Or his water will be shut
And
off.
his water's gonna get shut off.
I second.
Motion by Rick Flynn, second by Bob McAfee, to allow this gentleman, whatever his name is, to
Water guy.
make restitution for the six, whatever it was, which he owed back in May of last year. If he pays by midnight, February 27th, then we'll consider him caught up with his water bill, correct? If he does not make that payment by then, which includes Monday at 10 o'clock, after that, anytime on Monday, the 28th, then he will owe the full amount and we will shut off his water until he pays the amount.
Before you vote, question of precedent or compromise. I consider a key part of this the ambiguity over whether he would owe those late payments and penalties during that 8-month period. And we could avoid that, could we not, next time by announcing that to anybody who is in that position that wants extended time after we could avoid that ambiguity, and therefore there would be no precedent involved here.
Correct.
I agree, and
Absolutely.
when that happens again,
We do announce that. We tell people up front, you can disregard the disconnect notice. We will not shut your water off. However, it will still accrue penalties and interest. We tell people that up front when we give them any sort of payment.
and if they don't come in and talk to the council or somebody about it, I would say you don't do it. He won't even come in and talk to us about it. He's so concerned about it, but he won't even come in here and make a presentation to us.
And maybe,
Either time.
and maybe now, anybody who gets on a plan like that, that's a 3-month, or especially if they're asking for extra, like in this situation. I felt sorry for them. If I had a $600 some water leak one month, I'd be like, ugh. But maybe if we put them on a 3-month plan or whatever, during business hours, they have to come in and sign something. That they understand that between this, that they haven't paid
I
by
really
this
think
date.
that's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
That would be.
Because then it's
also
in black
something
and
that
white.
would allow this not to be a precedent.
Yep.
usually.
That's pretty easy to draw up.
Yeah, come up with a form, Mike.
Because if
Yeah.
if you want a payment plan, the least you can do is find a time on your lunch hour or any other time, come to Carl Junction, sign a piece of paper.
Do we have anything in the office of financial assistance for things like this? Like phone numbers and, hey, call these people. I have a list at the church that when people call the church all the time, hey, I'm behind on this, what do I do? I just cross lines. I have a list of names of people to call.
Send it and I'll keep a master. I mean, because I've looked up, I don't have a list, but it's like here, you can call Catholic Charities or you can call, but yeah, that'd be a good list to just put on bulletin board. You bet.
And here I used to get mad at Steve for new business things.
That was long.
Did you vote on it?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Not yet.
No.
No, we were just discussing the motion.
We got the
Okay, well,
motion and the
would you
second.
like to amend the motion that we also now in the future have a form?
You don't need.
No?
We-
Okay.
That is something we need to administratively.
That's just.
Administratively do. All right.
In-house
Very good.
policy.
Very good. So you heard what I said, right? You got it down? All those in favor of the restitution, signify by raising your right hand. 5 in the affirmative with 3 absent. Make the offer. Any further new business, Selena? What are you raising your hand for?
Too late. We already voted.
We already went by you.
I know, but don't tell me, I thought of something that I need to talk to the city staff real quick. new business. Do we need to change anything? We passed that ordinance 2 years ago or whatever, adopting that we go off the CDC policies, blah, blah, blah. Now that the Missouri state of emergency is ended, but the federal is still in, that goes away automatically. Do we need to do anything? Because Missouri
think
went
so.
away
We
December
didn't have
31st.
an ordinance or anything.
I think we just recommended.
We
follow.
recommended we didn't have to do an ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because Missouri state of emergency is gone, so all of that nonsense went away. Okay, just checking. Just a little house cleaning.
Anything else, Elena?
No, sir.
Crystal?
No, sir.
Oh, no.
Steve?
Yes, sir. One item is we're gonna have to go out for bids for a new silk spreader. We've got one that is, we'll make it through the season, but it won't go into the next season. It's not stainless steel, so it's corroded really bad. We'll get you prices on it.
No good.
Jay has lots of equipment
How
budget.
they doing?
I don't know. I'm gonna find out in a minute.
And you're doing an RFP for the auditors, right?
Yeah, we have an RFQ out for auditors right now.
What's RFQ? Sorry.
Qualifications. It is a professional based one, so you can't ask for pricing up front.
Our auditor fired us.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Laid off.
Mark?
Temporary.
You ready to go home?
Okay, next is a closed session for Revised Missouri Statute 610-021. 3, hiring, firing, discipline, or promoting of particular employees by a public governmental body when personal information about the employees discussed or recorded. We can do that in here?
Yep.
Okay.
So you shut everybody off?
I will after you vote.
Oh,
After we have a motion.
Roll call.
I need a motion
I
to
move
go
we go
into
into
closed
closed session for discussion of hiring, firing, promoting, or
session. Okay,
anything
with
else.
610-021.
Yes.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Bob McAfee to go into closed session for Revised Missouri Statute 610-021.
Roll call.
This is a roll call vote. Will the clerk please call the roll call?
Bob McAfee,
Yes.
Harry Stubblefield, Chris Flynn,
Yes.
Roger Spencer.
Yes.
LaDonna Allen.
Yes.
Mike Burns, Mark Satterley, Jim Jones.
Yes.
The motion to go into closed session passes. We'll go into closed session. I need to ask all the rest of you to please leave the session, except